All right, welcome to the Pierce Dispatch. Have an exciting guest here today with Rich Stockton. Rich, welcome.
Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah, we're excited to have you. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do here at Pierce?
Sure. I've been with Pierce here now for a few years. I'm currently serving as a senior product training specialist, which essentially means I go out and I talk with emergency vehicle technicians around the country, around North America and the world, just going through and discussing topics for maintenance on the trucks and how to go through and repair them, diagnose them, things like that.
Oh, that's such an important part because I know we spend a lot of time here building apparatus, but really that life cycle begins once it leaves Pierce and is then in service. So I know the work of the EVT or the emergency vehicle tech is just so critical to keeping those trucks in service, maintained, and really extending the life of those vehicles, even probably more so now than ever. So appreciate what you do. But you haven't always been doing that. Tell me a little bit about what brought you to that role.
Sure. Yeah. So it started years ago. I was a teacher. I taught fourth grade for years, about a decade there. So was enjoying that for quite a few years. I started moving around the Midwest with my family. And that brought us right back up into the Fox Valley here, into the Appleton area. So spent some time in Minnesota and Michigan and Battle Creek, Michigan, Cereal City. Always smelled like Fruit Loops until we got back into the Fox Valley here. Started working for an outside contractor and then went in working for Oshkosh Defense.
Okay.
Spent some time, about 5 years, working for Oshkosh Defense, working along on the production line, some quality work. Also spent some time welding and things like that for Oshkosh. After that, I was working on my master's degree in education at the time. I finished that up and saw an opportunity with Pierce. They had a spot open up that would give me the ability to go back and teach, no longer fourth graders anymore. Some great technicians out there, but also get the chance to work around in the fire service and on fire trucks, right? So the inner kid coming out of me there, I get to play on a fire truck, and also I get to go through it and talk with and enjoy time with a lot of great technicians throughout the country. So came on board here with Pierce. I came in as a chassis
Yes.
electrical and command zone trainer. So I would go out and work with technicians on kind of a basic electrical systems, understanding electricity and
Mhm.
how it applies to the fire apparatus. And then how to utilize the command zone system to go through and diagnose the truck, right? So if there were any issues, there was out of service criteria, it would give the technicians another tool in the toolbox to be able to go through and help try and get that truck back into service and servicing the community. So after that, a few years ago, as the new Volterra came forward, I took a position as a senior product training specialist there, working with the Volterra system. So now my role is to travel around to departments that have Volterras and work with them as far as going through a familiarization of the vehicle, how its systems work, spending time going through the new safety issues, right? Because when you start working with a high voltage truck, there's obviously some new things we need to take into account. And then from there, I go into high voltage systems and talk about how those work on the truck and how to diagnose them, troubleshoot, so that as these trucks come out and technicians start to see them more, they're better prepared for what they're seeing. And that's where I'm currently serving now.
So all the way from being a fourth grade teacher to now teaching EVTs.
Yes. Yep.
What kind of like there's got to be some crossover there. So like what kind of things do you see that are totally different and things that you see the same that you take from that experience from teaching kids to teaching
So the dad jokes are the
EVTs?
same.
The dad jokes don't move. That's awesome.
It's a bit different, right? So you have a better attention span there working with these guys, right? It's always nice to see in the technicians here just a desire to continue and get better at what they're doing, right? So they're playing a little bit different role than the operator on the truck. They're not going out to the fires, with the exception there are some that, come into class as both a firefighter and a mechanic if you're looking at a smaller municipality. But it's another important role that's out there in the fire service, right? So making sure that truck is available, that the operators on the truck don't have to worry about whether or not that truck's going to fail or anything like that. So having these technicians out there is a super valuable thing, right? And so it's not just a skill that any mechanic out there has. It's a little bit different working on a fire truck than it's working on your standard car that you drove to work in. And so working with these guys, it's provides a really good opportunity to kind of see the back end of it, right? And watching these guys come in and every day sit there in class and take in that information, you can see them thinking through it. You can see them applying it to what they've seen in the shop. and just their willingness to keep on learning, right? So I always talk about adding another tool to the toolbox, right? Now we can go to the Snap-on truck or things like that and get a new wrench, but these guys are really building up their mental tools and that understanding of the vehicle so that when they get out there, they're better prepared to make sure that truck is there, available, and ready to serve the community.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think a lot of people, myself included, when I think of training after receiving a new piece of apparatus, I think of, hey, how do I run the aerial? How do I safely operate this? How do I get the most out of the equipment that I just procured to protect the community? Because these are completely custom products. I don't necessarily think of how do I maintain that aerial? What kind of service intervals does it have? How do I fix something that if something comes up, how do I prevent X, Y, and Z from taking place using maintenance? And and I think that's just a fascinating element. So do you touch on or does your department also do some of that in-service training, or are you exclusively really service training?
So our team, we've got 5 trainers here. We don't do the in-service training. We come in afterwards, right? So when a truck is being purchased, whether it's here at Pierce or at the department, you'll have a delivery trainer that'll come in and show the operators how to operate the vehicle, right? What are the capabilities of that vehicle? As far as us and the rest of my team here, we go out and we travel around and talk to the emergency vehicle technicians. And so on the back end, if something's not working for the firefighters, how can we get it working, right? What are the steps that we need to do to make sure that truck is working and working properly to the best capability it has, right? So it's an enjoyable job. Keeps us on our toes, keeps us moving, and that's really the thing that we have to focus on, right? As the trucks develop out here, new technology is coming through all the time. And so for us as trainers, we have to constantly be looking at what's coming in, right? We're talking to the folks on the floor in production. We're talking to the engineers. We're talking to each other, trying to make sure that we have an understanding of how that truck should operate, right? How we can make sure that it's going to continue to operate that way through its entire life cycle.
So when a customer gets a truck and they do want that training on operating their equipment and those types of things, how do they go about that? Like if they wanted foam training, how does that request come in?
Sure. So typically during the purchasing time, right, you would purchase additional training there. Now, most of the trucks, when you receive that, you're going to receive operational training from your dealer, with the exception of aerial units and the Volterra. If it's an aerial unit or Volterra, it'll be one of the trainers from here at Pierce will come and kind of talk through that because they're very specific systems, right?
Sure.
But as far as operation of the pumper, we rely on our dealer network for that. And so they'll reach out with the customer and go and do that training, usually on site. So the trainer will come out for 1, 2, 3 days, whatever they need to do to work with the different shifts at the department and kind of walk them through that training. How can they best operate that vehicle to its full capability? And go through different scenarios, things like that, how to set it up, how to make sure you can get it safely operating how you need it.
Yeah, and I understand even on aerials, they'll even take them to specific areas in the community because that takes place in the field, right? I mean, those trainings aren't taking place here at the factory.
For the most part, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Usually it'll happen at whatever firehouse it's going to or things like that. And they'll work with those operators. And part of that is going out in your community, right? Understanding what the local terrain looks like and things like that and how we can set it up effectively there.
sure. And I think that what's interesting on that is again on the front end of it, you see folks coming in and they're sitting through a pre-delivery or a pre-construction meeting and they're saying, okay, I need this much offset for my aerial because we have to reach X, Y, and Z building. And they're doing that on the very beginning of it. But to go out and physically train in that element and show the proper setup of your apparatus and how to safely get to those areas to protect their community. It's just it's that part of it again that we don't necessarily see here at the factory, but what an important part of the process.
Absolutely. Yeah. Having that connection with the customer is really beneficial, right? Being able to go into the community, we make a custom apparatus. And so because it's custom, it's unique to each area, right? So we need to make sure that they have what they need for their community, right? Since not every community is the same, right? A truck in Alaska is going to be different than a truck in Miami, right? That the operators there need to know how to use their truck to its full capability. And so that's part of where that delivery training comes in.
Yeah, and I know a lot of departments will bring a mechanic on their apparatus committee as part of the committee. So they're here throughout the process, understanding the truck and those elements. When they're doing that in-service training, is the mechanic typically part of in-service training, or is that separate from what you do with EVTs?
So sometimes you'll have those mechanics on operator training. Um, what I typically do is work with those EVTs. And so the majority of people in our classes from the aftermarket side here are going to be those EVTs, those emergency vehicle technicians, right? We do occasionally get operators sitting through the class, which is terrific, right? You see some of the smaller communities that maybe don't have a full fleet shop. And so they may be having dual roles, right? As a firefighter and as a mechanic working on that truck. And so having that our classes available to them allows them to come in and understand that truck inside and out so they can understand not only how to operate the truck, but also how to make sure that the truck's going to continue to run for the entire time they have it.
Yeah. All right. So let's get into your wheelhouse. Let's talk a little bit more about the service training part of this. So, what service and maintenance training programs are offered by Pierce?
On the service and maintenance side, we've got a whole host of classes, right? There's all sorts of different stuff that we teach between the 5 trainers here. Everything from electrical stuff to aerial maintenance, air conditioning systems, the foam systems, TAC 4. We've got a whole host of different classes that we offer, offering them in different ways, right? So we offer 6 regional trainings throughout the United States, spread out throughout the year, which can be really valuable for especially smaller communities, right? So if you have 1 or 2 mechanics, it can be beneficial to send those guys to training and take the classes that are going to be most useful for them, right? We also go out and travel out into larger communities individually as trainers. So if you get a larger city or smaller cities, they'll sometimes work together and bring us in if, there's a need in multiple local communities. One department will host it, and then we'll come out and teach specific classes for them. So as far as what we teach, we all kind of have our little niche in there, and then we take over that stuff, right? My stuff is electrical stuff. I don't try and teach stuff on the TAC 4, right? We have another trainer for that. That's his area of expertise, so we let him deal with that, right? So we're constantly trying to go out and make sure that we're delivering the best training that we can for these individuals, and part of that is becoming specialized, right? So we can understand exactly what's happening on that vehicle and be able to answer questions and help bring these EVTs up and give them whatever tools they need to help them do what they're doing.
So, who's eligible for those? Like, who participates? Can anyone go to this?
So it's open to our dealers and our customers. So we're not training guys from other fire truck manufacturers or things like that, right? So as long as you're a customer or part of our dealer network, there training's open to you, right? So for the most part, our individual classes will go out to different dealers, and then they'll have different customers come in and also their dealer technicians as well into those trainings. As far as our regional trainings go, we see a wide variety of people come in there. So we're going to have customers, we're going to have dealer techs, and we'll even see some people from the dealerships that might not be the technician on there, but want to have a better understanding. We'll have a parts class or things like that. So you might have your parts person come in for training. So there's all sorts of classes that we offer, and we're going to get a wide variety of people, right? Whether it's a full-time EVT or it's going to be those folks from smaller departments where they're in that dual role of firefighter and mechanic.
Yeah. So, what can someone expect if it's their first time participating in a Pierce training?
A lot of information. As I said, we try and make sure we're giving the best that we can out there. And so part of that is delivering as much content as we can in those days that we're out there. So they can expect to get a lot of information right there. But we also try and make sure that we do a lot of hands-on stuff, right? So we're not just throwing the book at them and saying, here's everything we got, but we also want to keep them involved and walk them out there and say, all right, this is what we're talking about in class. Let's go out and look at a truck, right? Let's put that to practical use so that not only are they learning the skills in the classroom, but they're also getting on there and actually doing it on the truck and seeing it, how it's done and being involved in that, right? So having them take apart a TAC 4 suspension, right? Having them go through and diagnose electrical problems. We'll put them out there and give them the experience, right? So that Monday morning, when they go back to their shop or go back to their department, when they walk in, they've got the skills, they've got the experience, and they can put it to use right away.
So tell me, where are the service and maintenance trainings all held?
So we've got our regional ones that are throughout the United States. So we've got them down in Florida, out in Nevada, Myrtle Beach, and here in Appleton as well. But apart from that, we individually go out there. So as trainers, we'll travel throughout North America and the world too, but mainly North America here, anywhere from, out in Hawaii, in Texas, up to Alaska, down in Florida, out in New York. We're all over the place, right? So it keeps us busy and moving around there, going out and meeting the needs of the customer, right? Making sure that if you need help or you just need more training in the area, we're there for you, right?
Sure.
We want to make sure that we're going to be able to support you wherever you're.
So, how do you design these around such a variety of a customer base? Like, are these for beginners, like a new EVT? Can they come in and take this? Or is this something that you have to have a certain level of experience to participate in?
We see a lot of different variety, right? As you look at the industry lately, you're seeing a lot more newer, younger techs come in. As we're seeing older guys retire and things like that, we're seeing a lot of fresh faces through the industry. And so part of that, we have to tailor the class to meet everybody's needs, right? So somebody that it could be their first day, and I could have a guy in the same class that could have been doing this for 30 years, right? So as we look at who the customer is and who the EVTs are in that class, we need to tailor that class that's going to make sure that everybody is walking out the door gaining something, right? That maybe you might understand some of the skills that we talked about here, but our goal is to make sure that when you walk out the door, you've got another tool in the toolbox, right? That you have something else you can do, or a better way or a better understanding of what you're doing, so that you become better at what you do, right? We want everybody to walk out the door being better.
Yeah. So, how long are the training programs, and what kind of formats are they used? Are these online? Are they in person? I mean, you mentioned some hands-on elements.
So our days are going to run from about 8 to 3:34 each day. We've got a variety, depends on what class it is, right? Some may be a 1-day class or 2-day class. When we go to our regional events, we'll usually see techs come out for the week. So they'll take 1, 2, 3 classes through the week and just cram a lot of information in there in that time, right? So usually it's going to keep them busy through that entire time learning with that. And as far as the learning styles go, we do like to make sure that, it's not just you sitting there, death by PowerPoint, just looking at a screen all day, but trying to make sure you get out and actually have some practical hands-on experience with it. So as we go out to the different locations, we'll work with the department to have some trucks available, or out at our regional ones, we'll have departments volunteer their trucks for us to use, which is terrific. Super valuable. We really appreciate them doing that because it gives those departments and those techs from all over a place to see the truck and to touch the truck and to actually see what we're talking about in real life, right? They see it in their shop, but now having that practical experience right in front of them as we're going through it really helps solidify that information, so that now when they do get back to their shop, they've already done it. They've had that experience and they can go through and they're better at what they do. And that's the end of the day. That's what we're looking for. Everybody gets better.
So, there's certifications or qualifications awarded for completing these trainings?
Well, there's a couple of different things that you can go through. So as they go through our different courses, at the end of our courses, we have a little quiz for them or a little test at the end, right? So just to kind of check where they're at and make sure that they have an understanding of what they learned. With it, each of those courses, then you'll have a certificate that you can download or print for yourself there, showing that you attended the class, you successfully completed it there, and you have that available. So with that, we also have available for our dealer side, our dealer technicians, is our Master Tech program. So our Master Tech program involves the technicians going through a set of 6 core courses. After they go through and complete each of those courses and successfully passed each of the tests for each of those courses, then they can go through and they can sit for their Master Tech exam, right? So their Master Tech exam is a proctored exam where they'll sit down and it's going to encompass questions covering all those different classes that they've taken, right? And so once they go through and successfully pass that, right, now they're awarded Master Technician certification. And so that Master Tech certification now is valid for 5 years. After 5 years, there's more learning that they would have to do and take another, a smaller test on that just to maintain that certification. So then it's re-up for another 5 years, right? So that just kind of demonstrates that they have a full understanding of what's going on there and have multiple different skills in maintaining that apparatus. Now, the classes that those guys get and go through to prepare for that Master Tech certification, those are the same classes that our customers are sitting in. So our customers are getting the same information, right? Up to date, the best that we're going to give them so that they can have those same skills. Now, the certification's only offered for the dealer technicians. but we want to make sure everybody is getting the best, right? We want to make sure everybody's getting top-notch information that they can utilize when they get back there, right? So, uh, no matter who it is, whether it's a customer or dealer technician, we always want to make sure that we're giving them the skills and the tools necessary to make sure that apparatus is going to have a long life.
How many master techs are there? Do you know?
Yeah. So right now we have 270 master techs throughout North America, right? So that's quite a bit, right? When you think about the total number of technicians out there, not everybody can achieve that level, right? It's not an easy thing to do. So it's always interesting whenever we have somebody sit for that master tech test, right? So whenever somebody passes that master tech test, all of us trainers are talking and yeah, hey, this person passed, right? Because it is an achievement, right? It's a big thing to be able to pass that test. Not everybody passes, right? That's okay. You can always pick up a skill. You can get better at what you want to do. But
Well, and
to
if
be
everyone passed,
right, it wouldn't be
then
a good
it wouldn't
measure.
be right.
Yeah.
I was on a flight back from the Virginia Beach show, and I think Todd had worked with Will Bascom there at Atlantic, and they had set up a specific training there that included tests. And so you had one room was all the sales folks that are getting ready for this trade show, and at the same time, they even had to prep for the test. They had set up Jeopardy, and so they had a Jeopardy where they were going through and testing on all of these different elements to continue refreshing everyone's memory
Yeah.
on how to do this and how and kind of preparing for it. But what was really neat is they had a customer event that night, and at this customer event, the technicians also came. And so you had this thing where you're there celebrating with our customers and spending time with them, and again, getting to know them more. But at the same time, you had this population of people who had just received their master tech. And it was like a grad party, is kind of what it felt like. And I mean, you saw members from all over, whether it was Pierce leadership or you saw members from Atlantic's leadership team just congratulating these folks and what a big deal that was. And the next morning on my flight home, I shared a flight with a handful of them. And even then, like they were just beaming about what that meant to accomplish it. And I just have never looked at the Master Tech program the same
Yeah.
since experiencing that. It really gives you an idea of it. And I've seen it when people have also taken it and not passed.
Yeah.
But then it just seems to get this like kind of gravel in their gut where they want to go get it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And unfortunately, when guys don't pass or folks don't pass there, you can see kind of that heartbreak in them, but you also see them wanting to get better and we'll see them come back. And that's terrific, right? They're going back, they're studying, they're getting better at what they do, and they come back and do it again. And so whenever we see those guys that do pass that test, oh, it's amazing, right? Like you said, you see the look on their face and the excitement in there and the joy, but also their stress relief, right? Because they're studying for it, right? We talk to our different dealers and they have different prep courses that they do to try and keep these guys ready to go top of their game. And so when you see them studying and studying, we'll watch them, before those tests, I'll be out sitting in a chair at a regional with their books on their lap, going through the stuff, studying the stuff. They come in and ask us questions. Hey, can you clarify this? What does this mean? And we'll talk about that with them. And then they'll get ready to go and they take that test. Oh man, the excitement, the joy when they pass that test. We always get excited for it too.
Well, it probably, I mean, you mentioned that you wouldn't get your master's degree in education. I mean, it has to be a similar thing of the relief and like the time that you get back
Yeah.
and all of those elements too.
Yeah. There's a lot of hard work and dedication that goes in there for those guys. And to see that all to come to fruition, right? To be able to achieve something that not everybody can do is a huge thing. And watching those guys, the joy that it brings, the phone calls home to their wife and everything else. Hey, I passed, right? It's amazing to watch. And it just gives you that sense of joy knowing, hey, another one did it. Another one achieved something that not everybody can do. They put in the work, they put in the dedication. Boy, it's a great thing to see.
One of them too that I think is important to call out is that you mentioned how it's continuing education. People want to continue getting smarter, continue getting better at what they're doing, continue decreasing downtime of apparatus. I understand that there's a recertification too. Like it's not like you're master tech for life.
Right. Yeah. No, it's not one and done. So once they achieve that, after that master tech certification is valid for 5 years. After 5 years, they have to come back and there may be another class that they have to take. And then they'll have to take some more tests on there. Now it's not as big as the full master tech exam when they started, but there is absolutely more that they have to do, right? Because the fire service is changing. Over time, new technology comes in, new things have changed on the apparatus. And so we want to make sure that we're giving the best, and these guys want to make sure they're giving the right? So they come back, they take a look, they study, they do it again, they keep up those certifications. So they can come back and become a Pierce Master Tech recertified technician. And then that's valid for another 5 years. So it's that continuing education, right? Continuing to get better, right? Each day trying to be better at what you do.
All right, Rich. So if there's someone's listening to this and you've clearly moved them about how exciting being an EVT is, how exciting it is to be a master tech, if they're interested in learning more about this or maybe coming to a class, what advice would you give them?
I'd say talk to your dealer and go out there. I know they're looking for folks. And so there's always opportunities out there to get better, right? And so if they talk to their dealers, they can certainly go on. I know dealers are always looking for good technicians that can come in and help them out, right? So there is a desire out there. There's municipalities looking for emergency vehicle technicians right now. It's an industry with a need, and it's a great industry to work in, right? As these guys go through here, we see guys coming in from other automotive industries, right? I asked the techs and talked to them, and I came from Ford, or I came from GM or Kia or things like that. And then when they get on an emergency vehicle, it's a whole different thing, right? The purpose is different. It's not working to make sure a rental car gets repaired and gets rented again. This is making sure that a truck is there. It's ready to go, ready to serve and be there on the worst day of somebody's life. And so the purpose is different. So when we're looking for people out there to come into that industry, it's really important for them to have that understanding of what they're doing. And so working with the dealers, they're always looking for folks. Working with municipalities, there's always a need. And then once they get in with their dealer or their community, they can always reach out to us, right? So we've got our website. They can always contact us that way through Pierce Parts. They can contact us through our learning management system, or they can go through their dealer that way. But we always do have learning options available, training available that we can come out and work with folks, whether it's in Houston, Texas, or up in Kaparik, Alaska. We're all over the place, right? So we're always willing to come out and work with folks to help bring those tools and those skills that are out there. And we just hope folks keep coming out and working for our dealers, trying to get better, trying to do what they do so that we can make sure that that apparatus is out there for the community for a long, long time.
Yeah, well, Rich, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you coming and sharing what you do at Pierce and certainly what you're doing every day for the fire industry in general. I know in terms of EVTs, that shortage is a big issue for the customer base. And anything that we have a responsibility really as leaders in the industry and members of the fire industry to continue promoting what it's like to be an EVT, to continue doing that, to keep serving our firefighters in different ways. And I think there's some similarities to the passion of the folks that are building trucks to those that are keeping those trucks in service. And we are clearly in great hands with a very passionate individual with you and the work that your team does. So thanks a ton for jumping on the podcast today.
No problem. I appreciate you having me out here.